Vince Viafor was the definition of a New York Italian mama's boy.
Talk to me about Vinny.
He was a good kid. He liked to help people. He's an altar boy, but he wasn't always an angel.
The athletic altar boy tries college and learns it's not for him. So he works, gets married, and with his wife finds a new hobby, kayaking.
They love to do it together.
Unfortunately, the marriage doesn't last. But what does is Vinny's passion for paddling.
He loved the Hudson River.
Not far from the Hudson and Vinny's home in Poughkeepsie, a beautiful blonde bartender from Latvia is serving up drinks with a song and a smile. Her name, Angelika Graswald.
And how did you know Angelika?
We met at a bar restaurant that was a music venue. She'd come in and sing back up.
And what else does she like to do?
Photography. That's the other place where we bonded.
The multi-talented former nanny is also a kayaker. So when 44-year-old Vinny and 34-year-old Angelika meet, the attraction is instant and mutual. They're inseparable.
She didn't hang out as much outside socially because she found somebody that she seemed very close to. The two of them seemed to be enough for each other.
What was your first impression?
Well, she was not really a warm and fuzzy type person. She's Russian, so I guess they have a different culture, a different way of looking at things.
A little hardened?
It wasn't me that was going to go out with her. If Vinny was happy, that's what counted.
And it seems like Angelika makes Vinny very happy.
Say Happy New Year, baby.
Happy New Year.
Within a few months, she moves in.
This was fast.
Fast. And not too long after that, he asked her to marry him.
Angelika quits her job at the bar, and while Vinny is hard at work, Angelika spends her days doing yoga and taking photos.
He took care of her. He put her on his insurance policy because he wanted to claim her as a domestic partner so she could be under his health insurance. She was a beneficiary along with my daughter and myself.
Angelika does have one job. She volunteers as a gardener on Bannerman's Island, a century-old abandoned island on the Hudson River, once used as a warehouse to store weapons and military equipment.
Bannerman's Island was a place Angelika frequented.
Oh, yes.
What does it look like
Castle
out there?
ruins, and people go there. So she would volunteer there.
It would be a trip home from that very island that would sink the unsinkable. It's a chilly afternoon in April, a little after 4 p.m. Vinny and Angelika decide to kayak from Plum Point to Bannerman's Island. It's their first time taking this route. They get to the island, take some photos, then notice a change in the weather, so they get back in their kayaks. Vinny in the blue, Angelika in the red. They head out. The trip back will take about 40 minutes. Then around 7:40 p.m., about 20 minutes from shore.
911, where's your emergency?
Hi, I'm in the Hudson River by Cornwall Yacht Club. My fiancé fell in the water. Can you please call anybody?
What's your name?
Angelika.
Tell me exactly what happened.
We are kayaking. My fiancé flipped over. He's in the water right now.
All right, stay on the phone with me,
I
okay?
can't get to him. It's very windy and the waves are coming in, and I can't paddle to him. He's getting further and further away from me. He's gonna drown. Please call somebody.
We've got help on the way. Stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay. I have you on the speaker.
Okay.
I'm trying to paddle. The waves are very strong. I just still see him floating, but I'm getting
Okay,
further.
good. So he's still above water, right?
He's in the water, yes. Hold on, baby! Oh my God.
Okay, we've got everybody coming out there, okay?
Okay. I can't see him anymore.
You don't see him?
No. Oh my God. Oh!
The call drops. The operator calls Angelika back. When help arrives,
I don't see him anymore.
his name?
And, oh my God. I'm in a red kayak, but he fell in and I couldn't swim to him. I couldn't paddle to him.
Did he have a life jacket on when he flipped over?
He had a little, like a floating thing. He didn't have a vest. Oh my God.
Can you see the kayak still?
No, the kayak went underwater. The water is very cold. I'm afraid he... Oh my God.
Can you see the rescue boat? We have a boat in the water coming out to you guys.
I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about him.
When help arrives, rescuers pluck Angelica from the frigid waters. There is no sign of Vinny anywhere.
At first, did you think this was a tragic accident?
Yes, I do.
Until the tide turns.
It was a game changer.
Absolutely.
Vince Viafor is missing somewhere in the Hudson River. He capsized while kayaking back from an afternoon at Bannerman's Island with his fiancée, Angelica Graswald.
Oh no, baby! Oh my God. I can't see him anymore.
When rescuers arrive, they pull Angelica from the 46-degree waters and take her to the hospital.
When you first met her at the hospital, what was she like?
She seemed very quiet.
What does she say happened?
She said that as a result of the conditions, he flipped over into the water and she was unable to get to him.
Detective Donald DeQuardo and senior investigator Neil Moscato promised to call Angelica with updates
I immediately exchanged phone numbers with her.
and tell the former bartender from Latvia she can also call them.
My heart ached for her.
The next morning, as Vince's mom, Marianne Viafor, is getting ready for work, she receives the worst call of her life.
I got a phone call from my son-in-law that there was an accident and to come over to their house. And then they told me that Vinny was out kayaking with Angelica. He fell overboard and he was missing.
Marianne says Vinny's family, friends, and Angelica all go looking for him. Cops find Vince's blue kayak near Plum Point, where their trip began. But the efforts to find Vince turn up empty.
The first day comes and goes. What's the second day like?
It just kept getting harder and harder. And then we just prayed for him to be found so he could come home.
Over the next several days, the search for the 46-year-old intensifies.
There were extensive searches done by you and your team.
Yes, absolutely. We utilized our scuba team, we used canines, we also utilized outside resources such as the sheriff's office boats, the fire department, our aviation unit for an aerial search, and we did this every day.
Every day.
Every day.
While police are out searching, Angelica, to some, is dealing with Vinny's disappearance in a peculiar way.
She looked like she was having a good time. We had his friends over my daughter's house and she was doing cartwheels in the backyard.
Woo! Yay!
Angelica was doing cartwheels in the backyard?
Yeah, she was doing cartwheels.
We're ready.
Cartwheels and karaoke.
Some of his friends got together at one of the restaurants and she was there singing. They said having a good time and they were all looking at her kind of strange as this doesn't seem right.
The social media, what was she posting?
She was posting pictures of herself doing shots, smoking cigars, doing cartwheels. Just seemed like she was having a great time.
At one point, she invited me and the others to suspend our search in the frigid waters and go have a drink with her at a party that she was celebrating Vinny's life. We respectfully declined to go to the event. I didn't think it was crazy odd because everybody reacts differently.
10 days in, still no sign of Vinny. So Moscato and DeQuardo, along with a third investigator, decide to take a trip to Bannerman's Island, hoping to find something they may have missed, something that can help lead them to Vinny.
The night before, you had a conversation with Angelica.
That's correct. I told her that we were going to be going to Bannerman's Island.
What did she say?
She said, oh good, maybe I'll see you out there because I want to do a release of flowers or a ceremony in memory of Vincent.
The next day, on the way out to the island, Moscato's phone rings. It's Angelica confirming she'll be there soon.
And I said, oh, what are you going over there for? And she actually said, I'm going there to clean up. I'm like, going there to clean up? I said, what do you mean by that? She says, oh, I'm part of the Preservation Society over there. So I left off with her, okay, well, maybe we'll see you there later on. So we went to the island and we looked around, didn't really find anything. But I made the decision, I said, you know what, Angelica said she was coming over here. Let's give her a couple minutes and maybe we can just go over, retrace the steps.
When Angelica arrives, Moscato suggests together they recreate what she and Vinny did that day.
What happened?
It was during that time that her behavior became very, very bizarre in my eyes. She was holding her stomach. She had 2 cigarettes in a matter of 20 minutes, and then she had to go to the bathroom.
We asked her to bring us up to where they were on the island, and we began walking up the trail. And at that point, she's becoming visibly upset. She begins crying. You see some tears in her eyes.
She was just not focused.
She was all over the place.
She was all over the place to a point where I told her, Angelica, what is wrong with you?
The investigators are about to get an earful.
She begins to open up about her sex life with Vincent and how he made these sexual demands towards her and that it really, really bothered her.
At that point, I put myself in Angelica's shoes. Would I really want to tell my sexual activity with my fiancé to 3 state police investigators? So I said to her, listen, would you feel more comfortable just talking to one of us? She said yes. I asked her who, and she chose to speak to Investigator DeQuardo.
So DeQuardo and Angelica walk away and find a spot to talk.
What is she confiding in you at this point?
She smoked a cigarette, and then she looks up at me and she says, you know about the plug, right?
10 days in, and still no sign of Vince Viafor. While 2 New York State investigators are standing nearby on Bannerman's Island, they claim Angelica Graswald is about to drop a bombshell on another investigator, Donald DeQuardo.
She looks up at me and she says, you know about the plug, right? And at that point, I didn't know what she was talking about. So I said, tell me about it. She said, he didn't have the plug in that kayak. And I said, is that why his kayak sunk? And she's like, yes. I said, did you take it out? She said, yes, I think I did.
A stunning revelation, and according to DeQuardo, that wasn't all.
She goes on to also tell me about a ring that was on a paddle that she had taken off to disable and dismantle his paddle so it was inoperable. I said, did you take the plug out and take the ring off the paddle because you wanted him dead? And she says, yes, I guess I did. And I said, was there a point where you could have helped him or saved him, but you didn't? And she says, yes. I said, so you didn't help him? She says, no. And I said, why? And she goes, I wanted him gone. I wanted to be free, and I wanted to be myself.
At this point, you're getting a confession.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's not what you expected to hear.
No, it wasn't anything that we expected to hear because we had went there to do a search of the island. We had nothing with us. We had no pens.
You weren't recording her.
No.
You don't place her under arrest.
I don't handcuff her. I don't place her under arrest. However, she just confessed to murder, so she wasn't free to leave per se. I saw the other investigators. I said, you know, you're not going to believe this.
And I said to him, you got to be kidding me. I probably used it a little bit more.
Candid terms.
Yeah. But I was shocked.
So this turned from an innocent, grieving fiancé to possibly a cold-blooded killer.
Yeah, absolutely. No pun intended, the tide changed.
On the boat ride back across the Hudson, on the very waters where Vinny disappeared, Moscato says Angelica does something else that shocks investigators.
She throws up her hands and she says, I'm free. And we're like looking at each other like, doesn't this girl get it? She just pretty much confessed to murder. How free can you be?
35-year-old Angelica Graswald is brought back to the state police barracks for questioning. After she's read her rights, the 11-hour head-spinning interview begins. Remember, none of her alleged statements on Bannerman's Island were recorded, so cops need her to confess on tape.
So
We had a good discussion up there.
We did.
I think you feel a lot better, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I know we probably don't want to run through it again, but this is what we have to do, all right?
DeQuarto starts by asking her about the plug.
Why didn't you have that plug in there?
He didn't have it because I guess I had it.
Did you intentionally take that plug out because you wanted to set yourself free?
Because it wasn't like, I didn't want to kill him or anything like that.
Did you want him gone? Isn't that what you said?
I do.
Okay.
Not gone. I still want him. I still want a kid with him.
When DeQuarto asks another way, he gets a very different answer.
When you watched him in the water, with a part of you saying, my worries are going away now, and I'm free, and were you almost euphoric that he was going to be gone? You felt that way?
Still do.
Still do.
But just an hour later, the euphoria seems to subside, and Angelica changes her story yet again.
You watched him drown. I know it's difficult. I know.
No, I didn't just watch him drown. I tried to do something about it.
That's a little different from when you told me earlier, though.
Mm.
Why? Why do you keep changing what you're saying? You're confusing me, and that's an issue for me.
Trying to zero in on a possible motive, DeQuarto asks about Vince and Angelica's relationship, specifically about the sexual demands Vince allegedly put on her, as she described to investigators on Bannerman's Island.
We had our issues.
And what issues with that?
The sexual stuff.
Okay. He always wanted sex.
Yeah.
You to do sexual things.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
He wanted threesomes, porno, everything.
Okay.
And I was not ready.
But could the real motive be money?
He had a life insurance policy.
Yeah.
And you were on it?
Yeah.
They take a break. Angelica checks herself out in the mirror and does some yoga. A quick sun salutation and downward dog before...
Matt, nice to meet you.
5 hours in, DeQuarto's partner joins the interrogation, and they go over Angelica's story again from beginning to end. At one point, circling back to the ring on the paddle. Remember, DeQuarto claims she confessed to taking the ring off the paddle in order to disable it.
How long before you guys went on your kayaking trip did you take that ring? Was it the same day?
I didn't take the ring.
Yet another changed story.
Stop holding back and tell us
Tell you what?
what was really going through your head that afternoon about what was going to happen on that Hudson River.
What do you want?
What I want? I want to travel the world.
No, what did you want?
What did he want?
What did you want that day?
That day, I wanted to be free.
Then, Angelica describes her internal struggle.
What are your feelings and emotions knowing that this is about to happen? That when you're going...
I'm like ripping in two halves. You know, angels and demons.
What's the demon side saying?
The demon side. Oh, he's not a good side. You guys don't want to see that side of me. Look what it is. That side was telling me, just make me take what happened. Just let it go. But the good side was take it. Take it. We can do it. We can do it. We're strong.
Why the demon side went out?
Well, because of the way he's treating me.
They take another break, and over the next several breaks, Angelica fits in almost an entire yoga class. Then, several hours in, the interview resumes. And with hands to the heart,
I don't want to admit that I killed him.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
But you did. The reality is, you took that plug out because you wanted to kill him. You wanted him to be dead. You wanted to be free.
I took it out before.
Yes.
A long time before.
Because you wanted him to die.
Yes. At some point, yes.
Angelica, the reality is this, okay? You killed Vinny, right? No, I'm asking you the question.
I want to hear it.
I want you to tell me the truth.
I am telling you.
What is the answer to that question?
I didn't want him.
Angelica, what is the true answer to that question?
You need a statement.
Angelica Graswald has been at New York State Police Barracks for several hours, eating pizza, smoking, and downward dogging into the night. But investigators are frustrated because the one thing she hasn't done is confess the way they say she did on Bannerman's Island. Is that about to change?
By taking that plug out, you killed Vinny, correct?
Correct.
And you wanted that to happen, correct?
Correct.
Angelica, the reality is this. You killed Vinny, right?
You need a statement.
What is it?
I wanted him dead, and now he's gone. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that.
Is that the admission they've been waiting for?
Well, Angelica, here's the thing, okay? Is that when somebody's dead, there's a certain level of accountability that we all have to take, right?
Yes. And I'm going to jail?
Tonight?
Yes.
I'd say it's a pretty good possibility, yes. And you knew that, right? When you came here?
I know.
But even though she's headed to the slammer, she suddenly seems much more concerned about someone else.
What about Ralph?
We will take care of your cat, I promise you that.
Okay, get my cat.
Okay.
And get him to me. Bring him to me.
Your cat can't come with you.
Over the next few hours, Angelica passes the time writing, stretching, meditating, and unbelievably playing hopscotch. Then the time for kids' games is up.
At the end of the questioning, is she charged?
She's charged with murder in the second degree.
When Vince's mother, Mary Ann Villafor, learns Angelica's been arrested for her son's murder, she's in complete shock.
I said, she did what? And they told me that she caused his death. And it was just mind-boggling. I couldn't believe it.
Police have the person they believe is responsible for Vince's death, but they still don't have his body. Then an agonizing 34 days after Vince Villafor's kayak capsized, his badly decomposed body is recovered. Officials need dental records to make a proper identification.
They found him. He was right near Bannerman's Island. We couldn't have a wake. He was in the water too long.
New York State Police have found Vince, and they have his alleged confessed killer locked up for second-degree murder. But even with all that, they still have to be able to prove everything in court. So they start with investigating some unanswered questions, like why did Vince agree to go kayaking that day in 46-degree waters?
Did he tell anyone he was going kayaking?
Oh yeah, one or two of his friends told him, "What are you, crazy? This is cold. You shouldn't be going. Don't go kayaking."
But he was set on going. She was set on going.
Yeah, I think she made it very, very appealing to him, obviously, for them to go out there that day.
What did she do to make it appealing?
From what we know today, you know, she brought out some clothing that she dressed up in, and they took pictures, and she was wearing her sexy lingerie.
Next, investigators need to be able to prove what Angelica allegedly said she did was even possible. Could a kayak sink from a missing drain plug? Moscato and DeQuarto take me through their theory of what happened.
So here's the plug here, and it's maybe the size of a nickel. It takes seconds to take off. We ran a number of tests on it, and surprisingly, even to us, that little hole, no bigger than the size of a nickel, takes on water to the point consistently within 7 to 10 minutes with a person of the body weight of Vincent Villafor in there with all this in here on a calm river. On a calm river, it sinks without fail. And we did repeated tests on it. We did it with the plug, we did it without the plug. We also tried to do it with creating 3-foot waves. We did it in still water. We did it a number of different ways. And the end results, in our opinion, speak for themselves.
What about the paddles?
This is a safety ring. And what this does is when you put the paddles together, It's a safety ring you tighten down and it squeezes the paddle together and it holds the paddle together. When we located the paddle, the safety ring was missing. And we didn't know anything about that till she said, well, the clip was off his paddle. We also did the experiment with the paddles. We did it with the clip on, with the clip off. And we had kayak experts paddling with those paddles. And by their own admissions, without having that clip on there, it's extremely difficult to paddle in calm water, let alone having wind and 1, 2, 3 foot swells in the Hudson River.
Again, this is investigators' version of what happened. Cops also investigate the timing of Angelica's 911 call.
Hold on, baby! Oh my God. I can't see him anymore. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go.
At the time, it appeared that this man was essentially dying in front of her and there was nothing she could do.
Absolutely. We later find out that it was probably a good 15 minutes after he had gone down under the frigid waters that she even makes that call.
That's their timeline of events. Investigators also learn more that might point to motive. The insurance policy Angelica could cash in on is worth nearly $500,000. The other beneficiaries are Vince's mother and sister. And there's something else.
They were supposed to get married. Vinny put it off a little bit, and we also had found out during the investigation through the friends that Vinny had given her kind of an ultimatum. You better get yourself a job by the end of the month or else you're out of this apartment. So she had to hurry up and come up with a plan.
And if there was still any doubt for investigators, during a search, cops find 2 important items in her car.
The plug, as well as the O-ring that holds together the paddles.
You found the plug.
Absolutely.
And that ring.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it matched what she was saying.
She was spot on with that.
Cops believe all this paints a diabolical picture.
In my opinion, it was premeditated. How can you not come to that conclusion?
But there's someone who says do not jump to that conclusion, or any others.
It's the furthest thing from a confession.
Angelica Graswald has been charged with murdering her fiancé, Vince Villafor. Police say it was her alleged confession on Bannerman's Island and in their interrogation room that got her indicted.
By taking that plug out, you killed Vinny, correct?
Correct.
And you wanted that to happen, correct?
But that wasn't the end of the story. Not long after that epic 11-hour police interview, Angelica hires defense attorney Richard Portali, and he says everybody's gotten it dead wrong.
You believe in her innocence.
Well, I mean, I believe in it, but I know it because I have all the evidence.
Starting with the alleged bombshell confession on Bannerman's Island, Portali says it never happened. Cops made it all up.
They heard she was going to the island and they set on her. I mean, like a pack of wolves. There were 3 armed male senior investigators, and they pulled her to an isolated spot and they beat her up emotionally. And we have witnesses that saw it. They were trying to conjure up a confession and they didn't get it. And we know that they didn't get it because they didn't arrest her. If she had confessed, they would have put her in handcuffs. They would have read her rights. That's not what happened.
And Portali says detectives' behavior during that 11-hour interview proves it.
Now, I mean, you've watched every detective show. If she had said on the island that she intentionally killed Vincent Villafor, those detectives, investigators would have said to her, you just told me that you killed him. 10, 20 minutes ago on the island, you said you killed him. And now you're going to sit here and deny it? 11 hours. Never did that. Never did they ever say you confessed on the island, which is why we know it never happened, and they made it up.
In fact, there were moments like this.
Your account of what happened that night that don't make sense, okay?
Still?
They were making sense when we were out on the island. Now you're kind of going back to, I don't know what you're going back to.
So that's in dispute. But what about what Angelica can clearly be heard saying on that interrogation video?
I wanted him dead, and now he's gone. And I'm okay with it.
Portali says that does not make her a maritime murderer.
So you don't think that's a confession of any kind?
You think it's a confession?
Well, I don't know. I'm asking you.
That is not a confession. That's not I killed him. It reminds me of, the old gangster movies. When, the detective approaches a gangster that in some way, shape, or form is like related to another mobster who has died, and he says, "Did you kill him? You wanted him dead." And so the gangster says, "Yeah, so did everybody. So what? I wanted him dead."
It doesn't mean that
Doesn't
she
mean he
did it.
killed it. Just wasn't a confession.
She described at one point watching Vincent float away as euphoric. How do you explain that?
She wanted to go home. She was done.
And when it comes to that missing drain plug, police say Angelica confessed to pulling out of Vince's kayak. Portali says that didn't happen either. That Vince often kayaked without it in so that he could use the drain plug hold to strap the kayak to his car.
We've provided you with pictures so that you can see them where, look, it's not like it's under a microscope, but you can see that the strap is up and then it's through the drain plug hole.
But even so, Portali says the missing plug wasn't the cause of Vincent's death.
The drain plug is 5/8 of an inch in diameter and it's topside on the stern of the kayak. When waves hit the kayak, they crash into the cockpit. So when you get out of your kayak, water has entered the cockpit. When you want to drain the kayak, you hang it upside down and it trickles out the drain plug hole. Water would not enter that drain plug hole in any significant way to cause that kayak to submerge.
So what about the paddle?
Did she tamper with the
Well,
paddle?
No, she didn't tamper with the paddle.
But investigators said she admitted.
No, she didn't admit it.
But there were some things that no one could dispute, like Angelica's bizarre behavior in the days after Vince's kayak capsized.
And some people have criticized her for the way that she was, for doing cartwheels on camera, the yoga, inviting investigators and having a party.
I think to say that some people criticized her is an understatement. Everyone got caught up in watching her, do a cartwheel and thinking, well, she's happy that she must have killed him. She came from a community where open grieving was not an option. You don't cry in Latvia.
And as for the alleged motive, cops say it was the insurance money. Did the unemployed bartender have dollar bills on the brain?
She's not somebody who cares about money. She's not interested in money. She's a very simple girl from a simple country who cares more about flowers and photographs and sunsets than she does about money.
Portali says the bottom line is his client is not responsible for Vince Villafor's death.
I think it was a tragedy. It was caused by a combination of Mother Nature and two people who were not careful. I'm sorry, but he did not respect Mother Nature. The 44-degree water, and he's not wearing a life vest?
Was she wearing a life vest that
She
day?
was, yeah.
Why wasn't he? Did she
He
ever
didn't
tell you?
own one. Let's let that sink in for a second. He didn't own a life vest. That's not Miss Griswold's error.
Whether or not it was Angelica's error, that would be up to the jury. Angelica Griswold is on the eve of standing trial for the murder of her fiancé, Vince Villafor. Then, in an unbelievable turn, Orange County, New York prosecutors offer her a plea deal to criminally negligent homicide.
Why was there a plea offer, and why was a plea offer accepted?
Well, I can't tell you why the plea was offered, but I can tell you that the prosecution probably knew that we knew a lot of the things that that the public didn't know, and they knew that this case was not strong, and if we pushed, that it was all going to come out.
It's a huge victory for the defense.
That crime is the equivalent of keying a Mercedes. It's the equivalent of stealing $1,001. It is the lowest felony on the books.
Angelica's sentence? 1.5 to 4 years. And after time served and time off for good behavior, Angelica is released after serving 32 months.
A lot of people were outraged that she spent such little time behind bars.
More people were outraged that she spent a day behind bars.
One of those most outraged Angelicas walking the streets a free woman is Vince's mother, Mary Ann Villafor.
I don't feel that justice was served by her getting out.
You also wanted her to go through a trial and to hopefully be convicted.
Correct. The judge said that she did nothing to help him. At her sentencing, he said that. He said if you wanted out of the relationship, you should have just left. That's when he called her narcissistic.
Has she ever publicly stated she was sorry or offered anything to you and your family?
No.
And closure for Marianne will have to wait. They have filed a notice of appeal. And in what some may call a brazen move, Angelica is fighting for the very thing cops believe was her motive to kill, her portion of Vince's insurance money.
Does she deserve it?
Well, she would never see a dime of it.
It's going to go to you.
She had signed it all over to the defense team.
It's been reported that her defense is in excess of $500,000 at this point. Is that
true?
accurate?
Yeah, $542,000 to be exact. So, but she's home.
Investigators Moscato and DeQuarto say, despite the outcome and the controversy surrounding the case, they are proud of the work they and so many others have done.
As an agency, very proud of what we did, very proud of what Donnie DeQuarto did, because let's face it, if it weren't for his interview, she would have gotten away with murder.
There are critics out there and people who look at this case and have negative things to say.
Well, as the lead investigator on this case, I can say that I know what she did, I know what she told me, and any other critic that has anything else to say about that doesn't know the truth.
We repeatedly asked the prosecutor's office for an on-camera interview about the case and the plea deal given to Graswald. Instead, we received this statement that says, in part, since Ms. Graswald pleaded guilty and executed a waiver of her right to appeal, the case is over, and as such, we have no further comment.